Have not bought a bottle of fabric softener in 40 years. Not one bottle, not one box of dryer sheets. And the $1 trick I use instead works better than anything sitting on that shelf. Here is how I know my towels dry you off. That sounds like a small thing until you understand that most people's towels don't anymore. They push the water around your back and leave you standing there damp, and everybody just accepts that as normal because nobody ever told them what was doing it. I was 26 years old, standing in my grandmother Betty's laundry room in Indiana with a bottle of softener in my hand. She took it off me, turned it around, read the back of it out loud, and said, "Child, you are paying $6 to put grease on a clean shirt." Then she went to the pantry and handed me a jug of plain white vinegar and told me to go home and try it on the towels first, because towels tell the truth fastest. 40 years later, I have never gone back. One bottle from the dollar store handles the rinse on every load in this house. It works out to about 11 cents a load. Across 4 decades, that is somewhere north of $2,000. I simply never hand it over. Now, here is the part that might bother some people. The reason you have never heard this is not because it doesn't work. It is because there is no money in a gallon jug of vinegar. Nobody films a commercial for it. There is no soft focus, no woman burying her face in a stack of clean sheets, no mountain stream in the background. The people who sell softness do not profit when you find out softness was never the problem. And I want to be straight with you from the start. There is one thing this trick will not fix, and I am going to tell you exactly what it is and what to do instead, because I would rather you trust me than be impressed by me. So subscribe if you still believe the old ways beat the bright labels. Here's the $1 trick I have used for 40 years and why it works better anyway. Most people think fabric softener makes clothes soft. That is not quite what it does. What it does is coat them. Look at the back of any bottle, and you will find the word cationic in the ingredient list. Those are positively charged compounds, and they are built to cling. Cotton fiber carries a slight negative charge when it is wet, so those compounds grab hold of the fiber and lay down a thin, waxy film across every thread in the load. That film is slippery. Slippery feels soft under your hand. So you touch the towel coming out of the dryer, your fingers slide across it, and your brain says soft. But your towel does not have a job called feeling soft. Your towel has a job called absorbing water, and you have just waterproofed it. That is why a 2-year-old towel takes 3 passes to dry your arms. That is why the athletic shirt your son wears to practice stopped wicking sweat and started holding it. That is why your washcloths smell sour by Wednesday, even though you wash them Sunday, because that waxy layer traps moisture and old detergent down inside the loops, where the water can never fully rinse it out. The buildup is not on the surface. It is in the cotton. And here is the loop that keeps the money moving. The film builds up. The clothes stop performing. They start smelling faintly off. So you use more detergent to fight the smell and more softener to fight the stiffness the extra detergent leaves behind, and you buy both bottles more often. Every step you take to fix the problem feeds the thing causing it. Betty did not use the word cationic. She called it the grease, and she understood it better than any label writer ever has. She used to say that a clean thing does not need a coat on it. A clean thing needs the soap taken all the way back out. That is the whole idea, and everything I am about to show you comes from it. You do not soften cotton. You strip it clean and let cotton be cotton. So walk into any dollar store in this country and go to the cleaning aisle. Look for the bottle marked distilled white vinegar, 5% acidity. That is the standard strength, and it is printed right on the label. Most of those stores sell a bottle for $1.25. A gallon jug at the grocery runs $3 and change and will last most households 2 or 3 months. That is your entire investment. There is no second thing to buy. Here's what you do with it. Find the fabric softener compartment on your machine, the little cup on the agitator, or the middle slot on the drawer. Pour in half a cup of the vinegar. That is it. Close the lid and run your normal cycle. Now understand why that slot matters, because this is the part people get wrong and then tell me it did not work. That compartment does not dump at the beginning. It holds what you pour in and releases it during the rinse after the detergent has already done its job. That timing is the entire trick. Vinegar is a mild acid. Laundry detergent is alkaline, and it leaves an alkaline residue behind in the fibers that a plain water rinse never fully carries away. That leftover residue is what makes cotton feel stiff and scratchy and look gray after a couple of years. The acid in the rinse neutralizes it and lets it wash free. So you are not adding a coating, you are removing one. The softness you get is not something applied to the towel. It is the towel with nothing left on it. And you should know what to expect the first time, because the first load is not the impressive one. The first load is the load where 40 other loads worth of buildup starts coming out. Run 3 or 4 loads of towels this way, 1 week apart, and around the 3rd week, you will pick up a bath towel and notice it feels different in your hand. A little more substantial, less slick. That is real cotton, and most people have not touched it in years. Now, the question I get every single time, my neighbor Marlene asked me on the porch last April, and she asked it the way everybody asks it, half whispering, "Will my house smell like a pickle jar?" No, it will not. Acetic acid evaporates as the water evaporates, and by the time the load comes out of the spin, it is gone. Your clothes will come out smelling like nothing at all, and I will admit that throws people. My husband walked into the laundry room the first month I switched, sniffed the air, and told me the towels smelled wrong. They did not smell wrong. They smelled like nothing. What he had gotten used to was perfume, and he had spent so many years smelling perfume on cotton that plain, clean cotton registered as a mistake. That is worth sitting with for a second. A whole generation has been trained to believe clean has a scent. Clean does not have a scent. Clean is the absence of everything, and that is exactly what you are paying 11 cents a load to get back. And that's the kind of thing my grandmother knew that nobody ever bothered to write down. If you want the rest of them, I've gathered every trick, every recipe, every method into one place. Save $4,000 a year with Betty Sechrist's complete home saving method. Just scan the code on your screen right now or tap the link down in the description and pinned right at the top of the comments. It's the same knowledge that kept families fed and warm when every penny counted, all in one spot. Go take a look. It's waiting for you. Now, the second half of this costs you nothing at all, and it is where most of the actual softness comes from. Softness in cotton is mechanical. It comes from the fibers separating and standing up. Anything that mats them down flat makes cloth feel hard, and there are 3 things in a normal laundry day that mat them down flat: overloading the machine, overdrying the load, and letting it sit. Start with the load size. When you pack a drum to the top, there is no room for the clothes to move, so they cannot tumble and they cannot rinse. The water travels through the same 3 channels and never reaches the middle. That is a load that comes out with detergent still in it. And detergent still in it is the stiffness you were buying softener to cover up. Fill the drum about 3/4 and leave a hand's width at the top. Less in the machine, cleaner out of it. Then the dryer. This is the one that surprises people. Over drying is what makes cotton harsh. Once every bit of moisture is gone, the heat keeps working on fibers that have nothing left to protect them, and they go brittle and lay down flat. If your machine has a moisture sensor setting, use it. If it only has a timer, cut the time you normally run by about 10 minutes and check. You want the load to come out barely cool and just slightly damp to the back of your hand, not hot and bone dry. Hang it or fold it right then, and the last of the moisture carries out on its own. And take it out when it stops. A load that sits in a warm drum for 2 hours sets every wrinkle in it and comes out feeling like cardboard. Betty used to stand in the kitchen with her hand flat on the dryer door, waiting for it, and I thought she was being fussy. She was not being fussy. She was catching the load at the 1 minute it was worth catching. 2 more free things. Shake each piece out hard before it goes in the dryer. 1 good snap opens the fibers back up after the spin cycle has pressed them into a solid wet brick, and it cuts drying time on top of it. And if you have any kind of line or rack, finish the load in the air rather than the drum. 10 minutes of tumbling to knock the stiffness out, then hang it the rest of the way. Sun and wind do the same job heat does without cooking the cotton. Now static, because this is the honest part I promised you at the beginning. Vinegar does not do much for static. I am not going to stand here and tell you it does. Static is not a residue problem, it is a friction and dryness problem, and it happens almost entirely with synthetics. The fleece, the polyester blends, the athletic wear. Here is what actually works. Separate your synthetics from your cotton and dry them in their own load on lower heat. Pull that load out slightly damp and add 3 wool dryer balls, which run about $10 for a set and last year's. They knock the fabrics apart from each other in the drum so they are not rubbing and charging up. That is the fix. Cotton and towels, vinegar handles alone, synthetics, you separate and you pull early. And that's the kind of thing my grandmother knew that nobody ever bothered to write down. If you want the rest of them, I've gathered every trick, every recipe, every method into one place. Save $4,000 a year with Betty Sechrist's complete home saving method. Just scan the code on your screen right now or tap the link down in the description and pinned right at the top of the comments. It's the same knowledge that kept families fed and warm when every penny counted, all in one spot. Go take a look. It's waiting for you. Now, I want you to think about where this product even came from, because it did not come from anybody's grandmother. Nobody softened laundry before the 20th century. Not because they were tough about it, because they did not need to. Cotton, washed in a tub, rinsed twice in clean water, and dried in the wind, comes out soft on its own. The 2 rinses took the soap all the way out, and the wind did the mechanical part. What changed was the machine. Automatic washers came into American homes, and the rinse cycle got shortened because a short cycle sells a machine that finishes fast. Detergents got stronger at the same time, and stronger detergent leaves more behind. So now you had cloth coming out of the machine with residue in it, feeling stiff, and a brand new complaint that had never existed in any farmhouse in this country. And somebody looked at that complaint and saw a shelf. The softener bottle did not solve the problem. It covered the problem with a coating, and it sold you a bottle every month for the rest of your life to keep the coating fresh. Then dryer sheets arrived to sell the same coating a second way, and now you were buying it twice for one load of towels. That is the pattern. And once you see it, you cannot stop seeing it. A convenience creates a defect. The defect gets a product. The product becomes normal. And within one generation, nobody remembers that the defect was manufactured. Nobody sat you down and disproved the extra rinse. It just stopped being profitable for anybody except you. So here is your Saturday. Not next month. This Saturday. First, go get 1 bottle of distilled white vinegar, dollar store, grocery store, anywhere, under $2. Second, take your bath towels, all of them, and run them with your normal detergent and half a cup of vinegar in the softener slot. Nothing else. 3/4 full, not packed. Third, dry that load about 10 minutes shorter than you normally would and take it out the minute it stops. Fourth, use them for a week. Do not judge it on day one. Judge it around the third wash when you reach for a towel after a shower and it actually pulls the water off you. Fifth, if you have got static in your synthetics, split them into their own load and pull them out early. Now the warnings, and please hear these because they matter more than the savings. Never mix vinegar with chlorine bleach, not in the same load, not in the same cycle, not in a bucket in the basement. Acid and chlorine bleach together release chlorine gas, and that is a real hospital visit, not a laundry inconvenience. If you bleach a load, bleach it. Vinegar goes in a different load on a different day. Do not use vinegar on children's flame-resistant sleepwear. The manufacturers are clear about this, and so are softeners for that matter. Anything that alters the fiber treatment can reduce how that garment performs. Wash those the way the tag tells you and no other way. And check your own machine's manual. A handful of manufacturers advise against acidic additives with certain seals and hoses. Half a cup diluted across a full rinse is mild, and I have run it through 3 machines over 40 years without trouble. But your warranty is your business, not mine, and I would rather you look than take my word for it. Look, here is what 40 years of laundry has taught me. The industry does not sell softness. It sells you a defect and then rents you the patch. Betty used to fold shirts on her kitchen table on Friday evenings with the radio going, and she said the same thing to me more than once. Soap goes in, child, and soap comes back out. Everything that stays behind is somebody else's profit. She never bought a bottle of it in her life, and I have never met anybody with softer sheets. So try it on the towels first, because towels tell the truth fastest. If this helped you, hit that like button. Subscribe if you want more of the old ways. And that's the kind of thing my grandmother knew that nobody ever bothered to write down. If you want the rest of them, I've gathered every trick, every recipe, every method into one place. Save $4,000 a year with Betty Sechrist's complete home-saving method. Just scan the code on your screen right now, or tap the link down in the description and pinned right at the top of the comments. It's the same knowledge that kept families fed and warm when every penny counted, all in one spot. Go take a look. It's waiting for you. Drop me a comment and tell me 2 things: how old your towels are and whether they still dry you off. I read every single one. And if your mother or your grandmother had a laundry trick I did not cover today, put it down there too, because that is how this works. We share what we know. Next time I will show you the 4-ingredient powder I have mixed in my own kitchen since the 70s and what a box of it actually costs. Same idea, different shelf. Your grandmother knew. Now you know too.